Grace and peace, everyone. You know who it is. My name is Raheem Watson, and I am the visionary behind the life of young funeral professionals. Today, I thought I should do something a little different. I actually wanted to record, have my little show in the showroom here. So I'm like in my little background, just giving a little insight to something else that we really do here at the funeral home. So tonight, I have a special treat for you. I have someone that I love dearly, someone who is a motivator to me. But before I bring her onto the stage, I want to make sure that you take this opportunity. I want you to like, I want you to share this, get this out there for someone to watch, because our goal tonight is to encourage someone. And as we're going through this, I want you to comment. I want you to share. I want you to make sure that you are involved, because we want to be involved with you. So tonight, I have one of the greatest licensed funeral professionals on the East Coast of the United States of America, Miss Ashley Wyche. I was going to welcome her to the stage. My baby.
That was an introduction, okay?
I see. I try thinking of what I was going to say, and I was all on the fly.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time out. So I just, we have a special topic that I want to talk on tonight. But before I want the viewers to learn who you are. I want the viewers to learn, your inspirations when it comes to this industry. I know who you are. I know a little bit about you, but they don't. So talk to us a little bit about how long you've been in funeral service, where you are now in funeral service. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I've only been in funeral service for about 3.5 years. But I've always wanted to be a funeral director since I was about 8 years old. So when I was about 5 or 6, my grandmother passed away, and my family told me that she was asleep. So I spent all those years waiting for my grandmother to wake up. And when I was about 8, my grandfather passed away. And naturally, I'm a little older, so they can tell me a bit more. And they started to kind of explain the funeral process to me. And they didn't have enough answers for me. So I started to kind of do some research. But when I got to the funeral, my grandfather looked nothing like himself. And I went off. I went off. And so the more I did research, the more I fell in love with funeral service. And I kind of let it go a little bit as I got older. But before my mother passed away in 2019, she made me promise her that I would follow my dreams. And I enrolled myself back in school. In that process of me going through school, I lost my father 18 months after I lost my mother. But I still maintained straight A's, graduated at the top of my class, and here I am today, licensed. So it's an honor for me to just be able to say that I follow my dreams and that I am here to serve the families that I serve.
Yes. What I'm telling you, for someone to walk up to the casket and see their loved one unrecognized, I've seen
I still remember that image vividly. Vividly. And
crazy.
I said that I didn't want another family to ever experience that.
Yes. And that's
So
like one big thing. You start to change,
Absolutely. So I make sure that when I serve my families, I always give my families what I would have wanted. Anytime that I've ever had to be served in funeral service, I make sure that I serve my families in the way that I would have wanted to be served.
Yes. Because I talk about that. I talk about it a lot. That front row experience. You have to be in the mindset that you're on that front row. Because at some point in time, you're going to be on that front row. So you have to be in a place. You have to be in a place serving as if you were on the front row. And so, man, I tell you, you're just perfect. So before we get into that, tell me some things that really inspire you in the funeral service. Like, what keeps you going? what motivates you? Because at the end of the day, you are a motivator, and you really to know Ashley is to know if she sees a gift in you, she's going to push you, whether you want to be pushed or not. She's going to. And so, how does the motivator stay motivated?
I would say first and foremost, God. Um, God is at the forefront of everything that I do. So I get a lot of my motivation from church, from my pastor. I'm a member of the most exciting place in Philly, Truth Church. We also have a location in Camden, New Jersey. Um, and being at this church, I've gotten a closer relationship with God. So that is really what motivates me, because everything that I do, I'm serving God. So I have to make sure that I'm bringing that to the people. And
Yes.
so it's like it's kind of a catch 22, because it's just like everybody's like, oh well, what motivates you? And for me to just say God, it seems kind of generic, but that's what it is.
No, that's
But I would
real.
also say my families. My
Mm,
families motivate me, because as a funeral director, it's hard. Like this industry is hard. Facing death daily is hard. Dealing with families is hard, because everybody grieves differently.
yes.
Some families are calm, some families are chaotic, and you have to know how to navigate the two.
Yes.
But when I'm done with that service and the family is pleased and they're telling me thank you for my service, that is what motivates me to keep going and to be better and to give the next family even more than I gave the previous family.
Yes.
So the
That's good.
families is really, what pushes me to keep going, because
Yes.
this can become a lot. This could
It
become a
can.
lot.
And
This could become a lot. So if
especially
go ahead.
when I've been in a place, I don't have any kids. I've never been
Mhm.
married. So when you're in a place where you have to serve and sympathize with a mother burying her child, or a wife of 45 years, there's not a lot of words that you can say, especially when you never lived that life experience, so
Mhm.
keeping God first is really, really important. Being prayerful is really, really important, because like you said, you can walk into a angry, grieving family, or you can walk into one of the most organized, but you got some people that aren't happy with the arrangements. And so
Mhm.
you really have to stay prayerful. And one thing that someone taught me at the beginning of my journey in funeral service, no matter what she did, we all huddled up and we prayed. That's like one thing she never opened the casket before she prayed, because it's really important that you let God be the leader of this service.
Absolutely.
We don't He's the director, because at the end of the day, this is a time that he ordained, and this is a time that he has to still be glorified, in the midst of the sorrow. So we have to be
Absolutely.
where we are still encouraging, and like you said, sometimes it's heavy. It's
It's very,
heavy.
very heavy. It's very, very heavy. And honestly, God gives me the discernment to learn how to know how to gauge my families. Because everybody needs something different. It's just like when you have children. Each child is different, and each child
Mhm,
needs something different, and they need a different version of you. What
mhm,
works for one doesn't work for the other. So, it kind of allows me to know some families you may need a hug. Some families don't.
mhm.
They want to be left alone. So
Touch.
you gotta kind of know your personnel, know who you're dealing with, and know how to deal with them to make that situation a little bit easier for them and for
Yes,
you.
yes, that is so true. So
Hmm.
actually, I was in a service recently, and one of my staff members just kept trying to. We all know younger men, when it comes to serving, they don't give me no tissues. I'm good, just
Hmm.
don't. And it was a young service. Um, I kept trying to tell them, like, just let it go, let it flow.
Hmm.
And you could actually offend somebody, being in a place where you're just tissue, I'm here rubbing backs and all that. You have to, again, be very discerning, because sometimes it can come off as offensive. Sometimes it can come off as too much. You
The
really don't want to be
slightest
in a place.
thing,
Exactly.
the
And
slightest thing
if
can
you
come off offensive.
yes, and if you offend them, your whole service is out the window.
Absolutely.
It's
I had a
it's out the
service
window.
um where the deceased sister, she was coming to view, and she was like leaning in the casket. So, as a precautionary measure, I just grabbed the handle of the casket to make sure that this casket is secure. And that
Mhm.
offended her. And she went off.
Mm.
And, I had
Mm.
to explain to her, you can hug your sister, you can kiss your sister, whatever you feel like you need to do throughout this process. I just need to make sure that this casket doesn't shift. So it's for your sister's protection as well as your own. But just the
Yes.
fact that I grabbed that casket, it offended her. So the slightest little thing, because people are grieving, and everybody, like I say, everybody grieves different. So we have to always be cautious of what we're doing and how we're doing it, because it can always come off different than how we intend for it to come off.
Yes. 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 So tonight, I really want to spend our time, and we talk about this a lot, and we had a great conversation the other day. Um, I really want to take this time to express the call to serve. Oftentimes, a lot of us in this industry get it in for the heels, the dresses, the
All the wrong
suits,
reasons.
the paycheck. But no one is really, I'm not saying no one, a lot of us really aren't taking the time to answer the call to serve.
Hmm.
And so I want to really take this time, and I have a great conversation, because my biggest thing I would always say, you have to serve a $20,000 family the same
Absolutely.
exact way you serve a $2,000 family, because all of our families matter the same way, and all of our
Absolutely.
families deserve the same service. We have to, this industry, and my prayer is that the next generation of practitioners really get back to service. I really want us to take the time and serve. And so I want to
Absolutely.
talk about that.
So that is one of the first things that I was taught in this industry. Um, the very first person that gave me a chance in this industry, Mr. Clarence Johnson Jr., um, he shared with me, in order to go far in this business, you have to have a servant's heart.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you might get far, but you won't have you. It won't last. It won't
Yes.
last, and your families will pick up on it and they'll notice it. And I knew that I had a call to serve. I made a promise to God, and I was testing to pass my national board exams, and I was struggling bad. I had failed so many times. And I'm like, I'm so tired of taking this test. So before I went in to take the test, I prayed, and I'm like, God, in order for me to touch your people in the capacity that you need me to touch them in,
Mm.
I need this win. I need this win. I'm like, so God, listen, I need you to go in here with me, and we're going to answer these questions, and we're going to pass this test. And I went in
Yes.
there and I passed the test, and I flipped out. I flipped out, and I sat in my car for 30 minutes crying and just thanking God. And immediately after that, things just kind of took off for me. I
Wow.
want to say a few months after that, I joined my church, and I've been getting closer and closer and closer to God. And that's why I would say God is at the forefront of everything. And it's because of that relationship that I have with God that I'm able to serve my families the way that I serve my families. Um,
Yeah.
and it's for me, it's always going the extra mile,
Oh,
always going the
yes.
extra mile, because that lets the families know, okay, you don't just care about the money that's coming in here. You care about me. You care about my loved one, because it
Yes.
makes a difference. If a family feels as though you're only about a paycheck, if they feel like you just want their money, they don't like that. They're not going to
And
pass
they
that
can
along.
tell.
Yeah, yeah, and
They
they can
can
tell.
tell.
They can absolutely tell. But when you go the extra mile and you do something, families always remember how you serve them.
Yes.
And the biggest form of marketing is word of mouth. So how do you think that's going to go over when they're telling their friends, they're telling their family, they can tell the stranger down the street who is in need of service, hey, this person served me and they went above and beyond when they didn't
Yes.
have to. I would
Yes.
recommend that you give them a call. And that
Yes.
is how you build your brand. That is how you build your clientele. And that's how you keep the families coming back to you. Serving
Yes.
is everything. So if you are not in it to serve, what are we here for? What are we doing?
Yes. And one thing that really like we have to, like you said, going the extra mile. Because when you tell a family you're here for them and they don't see you outside of the arrangement table, they don't talk to you outside of asking for the bill to be satisfied. They don't see you outside of that casket being closed at the service. It shows. So right now I'm currently serving a family. This the loved one passed and they were married for like 45 years. Um, she said, I don't like funeral homes. I'm not
Mhm,
coming. I don't know what you need to do, but I'm not coming. I went, made the arrangements at the house. I went back and picked up the clothing. I went back and had her sign insurance documents. Every time I went back, before we even went talk business, we just sat and talked. And all she needed was company. And
mhm,
her daughter came today, and she came into me and she said, "My mom won't stop talking about you." She was like, she has buried a lot of people in her life, but this experience that you're giving her shows that you actually care about my mom,
mhm,
and we are forever grateful. And mind you, service hasn't even happened yet. And so it really goes to show when you care about who you serve, when you really answer the call to serve, you're going to go above and beyond. Did I
absolutely.
Did I have other things that I could have done at the funeral home other than going to her house? Of course. But it mattered to me because they matter to me. And I want them to be in a place where they matter. Because at the
Mhm,
end of the day, if my grandmother couldn't come to a funeral home, I would want someone to meet her where she is to be as
mhm,
comfortable
absolutely.
in this process. It matters. And I feel like a lot of people right now are just in this to say, "Yeah, I work at a funeral home." It's not about that.
Mhm.
And
No.
are you willing to work a service that you won't even be compensated for just to serve? Are you willing to take a loss just so your family's satisfied?
Mhm, mhm.
And that's like something that really touches me. Like I will go the extra mile with nothing because I want my family satisfied.
Absolutely. I've even gone as far as purchasing things for the families out of my own money just to make sure that things go right. I had a
Yep.
family, and this particular family, they really didn't have it. They really didn't have it. And their mom's hair was braided,
Mhm.
and they couldn't really afford to get done what they wanted to get done.
Yeah.
So they just said, you know what, just pull it up into a nice ponytail, lay her edges down, and we'll be fine with that. But that wasn't enough for me. So I went to the hair store and I purchased the hair, and I took out the braids that she had and I rebraided her hair. I didn't say anything. And when the family came in to view her, they couldn't do anything but cry. And they were so, so grateful, just because I went the extra mile and they were able to see their mother, how they remembered her.
Yes.
And when you do things like that, it's like it touches them in a special place, and then you become their family.
Yes.
You
Yes.
become their family. Families literally, families invite me to parties. I get invited to cookouts, and I show up every time.
Yeah.
Because I always let my families know, just because the service is over doesn't mean that you get to get rid of me. I'm
Yes.
here. I reach out on birthdays. I reach out on Mother's Day, Father's
Mhm.
Day, Christmas. If I've served you in some type of capacity, you will always hear from me outside of the funeral home, because it matters to me, so that you know that it wasn't just about the funeral for me. I
Yeah.
genuinely care about this family. I genuinely care how you're doing.
Yes. And that right there goes a long way when people can see that you genuinely care. I have gone, like I said, I've been going to barbecues. I have talked to families for years after, and even when, like I said, I mentioned the other day, I was in a farmer's market, and they're like, "That's the funeral man. That's the funeral man." I hear them, but I was like, I don't want to. That's the funeral. No, it's not. Yes, it is. He just don't have the glasses on. And when I turned around and I recognized them, they recognized me. We just connected, and it was just a great time. I exchanged
Mhm.
numbers, and to this day, we're still in contact,
Mhm.
and it really makes a difference. And
Yep. And I can attest to how much families love you. I can
I love
attest to
families.
that. I've had a few families that I've encountered that didn't want to talk to anyone but Raheem.
I love
So
and you
that,
have to build it.
that just goes to show how well you serve your families, and they become familiar, and they're just like, he took care of us. So we know what we're getting when we work with him. We
Yes,
know that he's going to make sure that we're okay, and that's who we want to speak to. And it matters.
it does. It
It
does. And
matters.
when you're one, you have to remain humble enough to, when people come forth and I want to know about Raheem. It's so easy to be big headed. It's so easy to yeah, you know what I mean? They don't want to talk to nobody besides me. But no, the
Hmm.
humility is what they're attracted to. The servitude that you have is what's
Serving.
they're attracted to. And
Absolutely.
and I sometimes I have to take a step back and look myself in the mirror and say, you have to humble yourself, and you have to always have a come to Jesus moment with yourself. And that's why it's really
Mhm.
important to remain prayerful, because it can become an ego trip for some people, but you have
Absolutely.
to remain humble. And I'm so grateful to be in places where people want to just deal with Raheem, and it's such a great thing to be a part of. And I love serving. I can't see
Absolutely.
myself doing anything outside of funeral service.
You have a
You know,
gift. You
you
have a
always say,
gift. You have a gift. I mean, I know I'm the one that's being interviewed, but I can't help but be me. And you are definitely someone who God has anointed to do this. And the way that you serve is something that I've never seen in my life. Just the compassion that you have for families, the way that you go the extra mile, the way that you customize every service that you work. I've never seen you do one service the same way that you've done the one before that. Everything is catered to that family and what their individual needs are. And that's why I always tell you, regardless of what you deal with, no matter what you encounter, because you're going to encounter a lot of negativity in this industry. You're going to encounter negativities from families. You're going to encounter negativities from your colleagues. You're going to encounter negativity from the people that you work with. No matter what you go through, always remember that you are called to do this. Funeral services, it's not just something to do, it's a ministry.
it is.
And that's something that God has called you to do. And you are amazing at what you do. So don't just stop at where you are, because this is not enough. We gotta go bigger. You gotta go higher. Like
Yes.
this is just a start. This is a start. And
Don't get me crying on
I
here.
can't help it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so proud. I'm so proud. I'm like a big sister, and I'm so happy with everything that you are doing and where you are going, and just for you just providing this platform for just people in the funeral industry in general, just to be able to share their experience and even get knowledge. Like people can respond to
Yes.
these videos and ask questions and just get insight, and it allows us to kind of give people a perspective and just give them a glimpse into our world.
Yes. And
So,
once that
thank
vision.
you.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yes. And my vision is to have our viewers, whether you're in funeral service or you're someone
Mhm.
that we have served, just giving people the inside look to our lives, because we are no longer just regular. young individuals.
Absolutely.
We have given up the average lifestyle to be of service to others, and
Absolutely.
it matters to me because not a lot of people know what we do outside of staying next to a casket.
That's a fact. Case in point. Few weeks ago, I had the honor of serving my best friend. We have been friends for about 20 years, and her mother passed away. And I took care of the services, and she was asking me that evening. Her mother passed in the hospital, so she's like, "Are you going to go and pick her up tonight?" I'm like, "No." The hospital has certain hours where we can go and pick them up. We'll get her first thing in the morning. She's like, "Well, why can't y'all get her tonight? Because they're going to cremate her." And I'm like, "Who told you this?" She's like, "Well, my cousin read it on the internet." Stop going to the internet. Stop going to the internet. That is not how this process works. And so then I
No,
had to kind of sit her down and explain to her how, if a cremation were to take place, how that would happen. We can't do that until you say so. You haven't signed
you
off on
gotta
anything.
authorize.
Absolutely. And so this is, like I say, this is also another way for people to kind of get answers to the questions that they have, because
Yes,
the funeral industry isn't really talked about often, and when it is, generally it's always something negative.
yes,
When we see funeral professionals in the headlines and in the news, it is rarely for anything positive. It is
yes,
rarely for the good things that we do. A lot of the good things that we do are going to go unnoticed,
yes.
but the slip ups, the mistakes, the mishaps, and sometimes they aren't mistakes. Sometimes people do things intentionally, so I'm not trying to
Intentional.
negate from that, but the negativity is always going to be magnified. So
Mhm.
it's good to have something positive being
Yes,
magnified.
yes, it is, and that's what it is because and that's one thing that I was really like making sure that I was in a place of encouraging,
Hmm.
strengthening. I don't know. We're not here. This is not anyone to beat up on anybody, because this is a trying industry. Long nights, long days. Time you spend more time at a funeral home than you do at your home. And it's a sacrifice. It is. And I want everyone to know that you are seen and you are appreciated because
Absolutely.
you answered the call to serve. Another thing that you said something earlier that just came back to my mind. You were talking about you're serving a current family, but I always say, yes, you serving a current family on the right, but everybody on the left could potentially be your future call. So you have to serve to the best of your ability. And you have to recognize that some people may be pro John Doe Funeral Home, and some people may have always gone to Jane Doe Mortuary their entire life. And then you
Hmm.
come with Raheem Watson Funeral Home, and who is this young man? And where does he come from? And they're watching you. They're watching to make a mistake. They're
They are
watching
watching.
fine tooth comb so they can
Hmm.
say, don't you go to Watson. You better stay over here at John Doe. And
Hmm.
so you have to be in a place where you're giving every family your all. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
And don't and you've actually been on a service with me where I just wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling it. But I
Hmm.
still gave my family the best service that I could possibly give, knowing that the personal me was not my best. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the personal me. It's about the gift that God gave me to serve these people. And
Hmm.
that is what matters the most. And if anyone watching this tonight doesn't take anything else away from this, I want you to know that yes, it's you going to these services, it's you opening the door to a funeral home, it's you washing a car, but it's the gift that God placed in you to go
Absolutely.
forward. And you must keep
Hmm.
him,
Come on, man of God.
because at the end of the day, if you leave God out of it, he has to fuel your gift. He's going
Absolutely.
to give you the grace. He's going to give you the strength. He's going to give you the tenacity to keep going. And that's what's really, really important, because we have to get back to making sure that we're serving. The Bible says in Matthew 23:1, the greatest among you shall be your servant. You can be the greatest embalmer, but if you can't serve, it does no
Mm-hmm.
good.
Mm-hmm.
It does no
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's crazy because that makes me think about my story, which I'm currently living. So I would look at a lot of my colleagues and a lot of different people in the industry, and they would always talk about who they came up under, who their mentors were, who inspired them. And I would always say, wow, I want that. But my story is so different. My story is so different. I'm not going to get into specifics. But I'm in a season right now where it's just me and God. It's
Yes.
just me and God. And God is stripping me and stretching me in ways that I never thought possible. Um, but learning how to serve God, I'm learning how to better serve my families.
Yes.
And because of that, is what's going to make all the difference.
Yes.
Is what's going
Yeah.
to make all the difference. Because like I say, families pick up on that. Families pick up on that. And that's what and not only just the families, the newer generation, the newer people who are going to come up under us. Yes, we are the new generation now, but there are people that are going to come up under us.
Under us. Yes.
Case in point, my son, 12 years old. Um, he doesn't know what he wants to do in life. So I had him work a service with me one particular day. And he came to me after the service and he says, Mom, I think I know what I want to be when I grow up. I said, what do you want to be? He says, I want to be a funeral director like you. So I
My
say to him,
God.
I said, well, why do you want to be a funeral director? Don't just do it because I'm doing it, because I don't care who was doing this. This is what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
And he said, I watched you when you were at the casket, and the lady that was up there, she was falling apart. And the way that you comforted her made her feel so much better. And I want to be able to do that for people too.
Hmm.
So it's not just people that are watching us just to have negative things to say. It's people that are watching us and getting inspired as well. So with
Yes.
us being the newer generation that's coming up, we have to, one, respect the generation that came before us. But also we have to set the tone for who's coming after us. Like that is so important, because it's a generational thing. It's passing the torch.
All right, we are back. We are back. I apologize about that little technical difficulty. See, the devil don't want this to come out. He don't want
Devil
this.
always busy, right?
Truly, he is, but it's all
The
right.
devil is
It's all right.
always busy, but he don't have no victory over here, because the
Oh,
Bible says, "Touch not my
oh,
anointed."
my
Play
God.
with somebody else.
What my
I'm
grandma said,
blessed
play
over
video
here.
games, not with me.
You always get me started.
Would you want anything less?
Yeah, that's
This
true.
this really, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. This
Mhm,
really is, because you really mentioned, not only are we looking to serve with families excellently, but we also are setting the stage, like you said, for the next generation that's coming under us. And I think, like, if we get the service in our minds and really just make sure that it's here, and not only here, but it's embedded here, we can this industry can definitely go far. Yes,
absolutely.
yes, you can have
Absolutely.
the best fleet. You can have the best fleet known to mankind.
Mhm.
You can sell the top of the line caskets. You can dress and tailor, and but all of that means nothing if you don't Take the time to meet your family where you are and serve them to the best of your ability. Because really, without a family or a loved one, we have no funeral home. So that
Nothing.
casket you selling
You don't have
with that hearse
anything.
you bought is nothing.
Mhm.
So
And you have to serve these families as if they're your own.
you have
Because
to.
if for instance, if I had a service and let's say a family member was just getting on my last nerve and I'm dismissive, I'm disrespectful, I'm combative. What if this person was my mother and someone was
Yes.
treating my mother like that? No, you have to
Yeah.
treat these families as if they are your own.
Yes.
Serve them like you want to be served. And I think that's one of the great things about being in my position is because I've been on that front row several
Yeah.
times. I've lost my mother, I've lost my father, I've lost my brother, I've lost my sister.
Yeah.
I've pretty much lost almost everybody. And it's because of that that I'm able to serve my families in the capacity that I serve because I know what it's like from a funeral director standpoint, but I also know what it's like from a grief standpoint.
Yes. And
And
that's
so,
something really profound because in 2022, June of 2022, I lost my grandfather. My
mhm,
grandfather's not the road dog. That's Big Fritz.
mhm,
Um, being on the other side of the table, making the arrangements and seeing, all that we had to endure. I wish I had a little more support in the process from the funeral home. Um, at the service served top tier. They knew my expect. Now we worked the same firm, so they knew my expectations. So you coming to serve me, but I
mhm,
wish I had more support during from the first call to the service. Then 2 weeks after that, my great grandmother, his mother passed away. 2 weeks to the day from his service.
mhm,
And again, I wish I just had some more support from the arrangement to the service. Service was great. That experience alone, that front row experience, the experience I just wanted more from the funeral home. I put myself in that position every time I serve. I
mhm,
don't want a family to feel the way I felt. You're going to get tired of hearing from me rather than wishing you heard from me.
mhm. You want to know what I'll call that? I call that being liquid.
Mm,
I call that being liquid because of that experience that you had, you are now able to fill in the gaps.
yes,
And that's what being liquid is, being able to fill in those gaps. So
yes,
because you've had that experience, you now know what not to do.
yes,
And I have to remind myself often to be mindful of the things that I complain about. Um because sometimes the things that we experience that aren't that great are molding us into being better and to doing better, so that way we can give what we didn't get, and so that way we can give that top tier experience. So sometimes these hardships and these experiences that we go through is intentional, so that way we can take that experience and we can build and we can be better, so that way we serve better.
yes.
We always say, serving is everything. And so if you
Yeah,
serve the best that you possibly can, we wouldn't know that this needs to be done if we hadn't experienced a lack of it.
yes, yes.
If
That
we
is so,
didn't experience that lack, we wouldn't know, wow, this is needed, this is necessary. So sometimes the lack is needed.
yes, that is so true. And I never even
Mhm.
really thought about it now, but that is so true. So,
Absolutely. I didn't think about it at first either. uh, I didn't think about it at first either, but shout out to my pastor. He
oh,
kind of had to beat that into my head, and I
you know,
get it now.
since we shouting out passes, recently, I think it was in the past couple of days, Wednesday to be exact. You know, um, I'm one of the servant leaders at my church. Whatever's asked of me, I'm doing. I don't care what it
Hmm.
is. I don't mean I'm pulling a trash can. Don't care what it is. Um, but serving at my church has really cultivated me serving at a funeral home too, because you have to make sure you've been in a position to serve. Period. So I said a comment to him. I was like, I really learned from so and so. Oh, really? Like, yeah, they can't see me at a funeral, but I've serving in a church. I've really learned from them.
Mm-hmm.
This is where he beat me up. He said, "Don't you ever compare yourself to anybody. You are a great servant leader."
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I was like, "Oof, okay, all right." I was like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "I'm dead serious. You're
You
a
are.
great servant leader." That thing sat with me. It sat with me, and in a way, I was like, "Why do you compare yourself? Why?" And I went to prayer about it. And one thing, and me, I love music.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing I always, when I pray, I just go right into listening to music. Sometimes I feel like God speaks through music, sometimes it speaks through silence, sometimes it speaks through water. Anyway, uh, but I was listening to Rich Tolbert. Did I add that to your playlist?
Yes, you
If I
did. Yes, you did. And I thank you so much for that.
You are graced for the call. That thing.
Listen, let me ask you this. How many people have your social security number?
Whoo,
Just
none.
you, right?
Yeah.
It's only one Raheem Watson. Be him.
Something
Be
that
the
thing.
best Raheem Watson you can be.
And that's like one thing too that I've thought about with this platform. A lot of people in this industry are generationally passed down. You know, but there are people like myself who I'm the only one. No one in my
Yeah.
family is this. No one of my families are experiencing the gains, the losses, the successes, the failures,
Mhm.
the tears. You know, I got a paper cut today, so I said I have now put blood, sweat, and tears into this funeral.
Listen, my entire family thought I was crazy. Everyone who knew me thought that I was crazy.
Yeah,
But now that they get to kind of see it unfold in real time, they're like, "Wow,
yeah,
you really did
and
it."
me, I was bad growing up. I was bad.
I'm
So
sure.
when I'm able to watch it, so when I'm able to serve my hometown, and that people see me in the capacity where I am now, it's like
Mhm.
never thought that you would do this, but you are really a mortician. Like the walk, the care you have, the way you talk, you really have, and that is blown away. And I can't do anything besides thank God because there's a song. Without him, I'm nothing.
Listen,
I'm like a
absolutely nothing.
without a
Absolutely
saint.
nothing. It's the common saying. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
Wow.
So yes, you may have been bad. You may have been a lot of things. But because you are called, God gave you the qualifications. He gave you everything it was that you needed to be who he called you to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I
This
always
is
tell you, you are graced for this.
you know what you always have because there was days I was ready just to give it up, just
You
to
are
give
graced
it
for
up.
this.
And
Because sometimes we have to, I'll always and I'm not perfect. I have my days where, I'm less than pleasant. So I won't act like I'm always motivational. I'm not. But because of the industry that we are in and because of the different challenges that we face, anytime that I have an opportunity to encourage or to uplift and inspire, why not?
yeah,
Why not? It's so somber. We are going to already have to deal with so many people trying to tear us down.
yes,
It's so many people trying to tear us down. It's so hard just being in this industry alone. So whenever I get a chance to just encourage and uplift, you never know what somebody's dealing with. Somebody could literally just be having a day where they just like, I can't do this. I give up. I quit. And then you just encourage them and tell them how amazing they are. And now they have the strength that they need to keep going.
Mm.
So I'm never gonna stop encouraging you. I'm never gonna stop making you uncomfortable. No matter how much you ask me, it just deal with it. Sorry. You're amazing.
Let me tell you, one day we were working the service. Service got started. And one thing about it, Ashley, when she gets you to a corner, you already know what it's about to be. When she gets you into a corner. So we were working the service and she came up to me. She was like, "So what are you doing with yourself? Why are you here? You need to keep going." And I was like, "Huh?" She was like, "I see you. You need to keep going. This is not no. No." And from that moment on, Ashley has continued to push. She checks in, she pushes. And when I was putting out this platform, one of the biggest people that I wanted to not I wasn't looking for the encouragement, but that knew it was coming was Ashley. And I love you. I love you. I love me some Ashley. I don't care what nobody say.
Stop.
And honestly, like I knew of Ashley before we started working together. I seen her maybe once or twice at the firm she was working with, and helping out. But I didn't know Ashley. But once I started to learn who Ashley was, and when we started working together, that's when the bond really connected. And
Mhm,
some days she has gotten this brother together. But also there I've seen where her heart is what
mhm,
really fuels her journey. Ashley has one of the biggest hearts, not just for those she care about, but those she serves. She has a big heart for this industry, and baby, this is just the beginning. Just the beginning. You're
absolutely.
going to, as I go up, I know you're gonna go up too. Cause listen, I'm gonna be right there, and I know you were right there for me. And I thank you.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Always.
and you know it. I was like, this is also, this is history for me because you're the first female practitioner on my show, and that is now.
Listen, thank you for having me. Listen, thank you for having me. Growing up, I didn't even know any female funeral directors.
Yeah.
So just for me to be a woman in funeral service is just is amazing in itself. And
Yeah.
I honor all of the women in funeral service.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And
because this
actually, little sidebar, I want to take a moment and honor my mother.
yes.
Today, November 18th is her birthday. So
Oh
I just want to I want to take the time and just wish my mother a happy heavenly birthday. You
yes.
know, I'm going to turn up for you in some type of way. I'm not going to turn up too much because it's a little late. And I have church tomorrow. So, but I do want to take the time out to just honor and wish my mother a happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday. My goodness. That really made me a little fuzzy on the inside. That made me a little fuzzy.
Oh,
Yes, 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 yes. I truly thank you. We're gonna wrap up, but I just want you to just take just a few moments, and just little. I know we said a lot tonight. I know we said a lot, and this is great. And I hope that you guys are blessed by this tonight. But I really just want you to take just a few moments and just encourage someone on here who is at their wits end or doesn't know if this is what they want to do what you do best and just take a moment and encourage them, motivate them to keep going.
I'll just encourage you to keep God first. That's first and foremost. Keep God first. Always be encouraged. You're going to encounter so many different things in this industry that's going to knock you off your square. Keep going. Keep going. You only fail if you stop.
Mm.
You only fail if you stop. My pastor just preached about this. He did a whole series on continuing, and you're only unsuccessful when you're stagnant. So you have to always keep going. People are always going to try to get in your way. They're always going to try to discourage you. As long as God is at the forefront, you know exactly what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Keep going, because you don't do this for those people who are speaking against you. You do it for the families who need you.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
in the essence of that, serve and serve well. So if
Yeah.
I can leave you with anything, keep God first, be encouraged, and serve well.
Serve well. That's what I love. That's I don't know why. That's just my thing. Serve well. Serve well.
Serve well.
Yes. I thank you, Ashley, for being on
Listen,
tonight.
thank you for having me.
Of course. Get used to this face because she will be back. She will be back. And so tune in to next week. I have a really special surprise for you all next week, and I think you're gonna love it. But tune in with us next week, right back here at the Life of the Young Funeral Professionals. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. I love you, and nothing you can do about it. Take care.